For years, Lee Min-ho and Kim Go-eun have been at the center of endless speculation. From the moment they first appeared together on screen, fans noticed something different. Something tender, almost unspoken, yet impossible to ignore. It wasn't just acting. There was a depth in the way they looked at each other, a softness in the way they lingered between lines, and a warmth that made even the most skeptical hearts wonder. Could there be something real behind the characters they played? And yet, time and time again, both Lee Min-ho and Kim Go-eun denied the rumors. They insisted it was just work. Just friendship. Just a professional bond between two respected actors. But sometimes, words cannot hide what the heart reveals. And recently, one emotional moment, one tearful confession, has left fans convinced that the truth is far more powerful than any denial. It began quietly. Lee Min-ho was attending a press event, surrounded by cameras, lights, and questions that blurred together in the usual rhythm of celebrity life. But then, a journalist asked something unexpected. They asked about Kim Go-eun. At first, Min-ho smiled politely, giving the kind of answer he had given 100 times before, that she was a wonderful actress, that they had great chemistry on set, and that he respected her deeply. But then, his expression shifted. His voice trembled slightly. And before anyone could fully grasp what was happening, his eyes glistened with tears. He tried to laugh it off, tried to turn his head away, but the cameras caught it, the raw emotion spilling through. And in that unguarded moment, fans felt they were witnessing the truth Lee Min-ho had carried quietly for so long. He said softly, almost like a whisper, "Some people will never understand what she means to me." Those words echoed far louder than the room itself. And though he quickly tried to recover, moving on to the next question, the world had already seen it. It wasn't just about friendship. It wasn't just about co-stars. It was about something deeper. Something fragile. Something that no denial could erase. The internet exploded. Clips of his tearful words spread across every platform within hours. Fans replayed it again and again, zooming in on the slight quiver of his lips, the way his voice cracked as he spoke her name, and the unmistakable truth behind his eyes. Some said it was love. Others said it was heartbreak. But one thing was clear. Lee Min-ho's emotions for Kim Go-eun were not ordinary. They were real. Behind the scenes, insiders whispered about what had been happening quietly between them. That Kim Go-eun had been Lee Min-ho's anchor during his loneliest moments. That she had celebrated his victories quietly, without the cameras, cheering for him not as a fan, not as a co-star, but as someone who truly understood him. And that she had been there during his hardest days, reminding him of the man he was, even when the world tried to strip him down to just an image, just a celebrity. For Lee Min-ho, she wasn't just an actress he once worked with. She was the one person who saw him. Not the star, not the icon, not the legend of K-drama, but the man behind it all. And that is why his tears betrayed him. Fans couldn't stop comparing his emotional response with the countless times Kim Go-eun herself had been asked about him. They remembered the way she would smile shyly, choosing her words carefully, but always letting her eyes soften when his name was mentioned. They remembered the small, almost invisible details. How she once wore a bracelet identical to one he had been spotted with. How she had slipped up in an interview, almost saying, "Min-ho appa," before quickly correcting herself. How her laugh seemed brighter whenever he was around. These were not the signs of two people with nothing to hide. These were the signs of two souls who had found something rare, but were afraid to show it to the world. But now, with his tearful confession, everything feels different. It's as if the wall they tried so hard to build, the wall of denial, of distance, of polite professionalism, has finally cracked. And through that crack, the truth has begun to shine. Some fans believe his tears were not only about love, but about fear. Fear of losing her. Fear of the rumors becoming too heavy for them to bear. Fear that the industry, the spotlight, and the pressure of public opinion might pull them apart before they even have the chance to fully hold on to what they found. Because love, in their world, is never simple. It is scrutinized, analyzed, dissected by millions. Every glance becomes a headline. Every smile becomes a rumor. Every silence becomes a story. And yet, despite the noise, their connection refuses to fade. What makes this moment so powerful isn't just that Lee Min-ho cried. It's that in those tears, fans saw truth. A truth he had guarded for years. A truth Kim Go-eun has quietly carried in her own way. A truth that says, despite everything, they are bound by something real. And perhaps the most touching part of all is not what was said, but what was felt. Because sometimes, love does not need grand declarations. Sometimes it reveals itself in the smallest cracks of emotion, in the tears that fall when words cannot protect you anymore. And for Lee Min-ho and Kim Go-eun, that moment was enough to leave the world breathless. As fans replay the clip again and again, one question lingers. If this is what slips through when they try to deny it, then what beautiful story are they still hiding from the world? Because love like this cannot stay hidden forever. And no matter how much they try to cover it with silence, with smiles, or with careful answers, the heart always speaks louder. And Lee Min-ho's heart has already told us everything. When the clip of Lee Min-ho's emotional words swept across the internet, everyone waited for one thing: Kim Go-eun's response. Would she ignore it? Would she deny it once again? Or would she let her silence say more than any words could? At first, she remained quiet. 4 days, her social media stayed unchanged, her schedule moved forward as usual, and her smile in public appearances looked as bright as always. But fans who knew her well, fans who studied every detail, noticed something different. There was a softness in her expression, a faraway look in her eyes, as if she was carrying the weight of emotion she could no longer hide. It happened during a magazine interview. Kim Go-eun was asked about her growth, about her upcoming projects, and about the people who had inspired her along the way. She answered gracefully, thoughtfully, as she always did. And then, the interviewer asked about Lee Min-ho. The question was simple. What comes to mind when you think of him? For a brief moment, she froze. Her lips parted slightly, her eyes softened, and there was a pause. So delicate, so fragile, that fans watching later swore it revealed everything. Finally, she smiled. And she said, in her gentle voice, "He is someone who has given me strength, even when he doesn't know it." The room fell silent. It wasn't a declaration. It wasn't a confession. But it was enough. Because in those words, she revealed what her heart had been carrying all along. Clips of her interview began to spread alongside Min-ho's tearful words, creating a story that no denial could erase. His tears, her softness, his trembling voice, her tender smile. Together, they painted a picture more beautiful than any drama script. It wasn't fiction anymore. It was real. Insiders whispered that Go-eun had seen the clip of Min-ho's emotional response long before the world did. That someone close to her had shown her the video, quietly, away from the cameras. And that when she watched it, her eyes welled with tears she tried to hide. She pressed her hand to her lips, her voice catching in her throat. Not because she was shocked, she already knew his heart. But because the world had finally